All right, everybody, we are back. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching our meetings from home or on your TV, we are now at item 8A6 on the agenda, and there's a number of items we have to receive before we get into the details. So 8A6 is Information Systems Senior Services Analyst, and the resolution is that pursuant to the Manager of Information Systems report number MIS 2021-01, a full-time permanent senior services analyst in the Corporate Services Department Information Systems section be received and referred to operating issue D6-3. If I get a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Alsap and Councillor Sandison, all in favor, it's carried. 8A7, the approval section, 1, development engineer. Resolution is that pursuant to the Manager of Approvals report number APS 2021-10, a second full-time permanent development engineer in the Engineering Services Department approval section be received and referred to operating issue number D611. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Kelly. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Manager of Operations Planning and Development. Resolution is that pursuant to the General Manager's Transportation and Operations Services report number GMTOS 2021-07, a full-time permanent manager of operations, planning and development and transportation and operations services be received and referred to operating issue D612. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Carr. All in favor? It's carried. 8A9, Ward 2 service expansion. General Manager, Transportation and Operations Services report number GMTOS 2021-06. Resolution is that pursuant to the General Manager, Transportation and Operations Services report number GMTOS 2021-06, Ward 2 service expansion be received and referred to operating issue number D613. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Carr. All in favor? It's carried. 8A11, 2021, I'm sorry, 8A10, I almost missed it. The resolution is that the 2021 draft-based budget adjustments tax supported be approved. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Sandison. All in favor? It's carried. And now we are on 8A12, the 2021 draft operating issue summary tax supported. The resolution is. Did I miss 8A11 again? Oh, sorry. 8A11, that the 2021 draft COVID-19 adjustments tax supported be approved. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Alsap. All in favor? It's carried. Now we're at 8A12, the 2021 draft operating issue summary. And I'm going to see the resolution to approve all of the items so that the 2021 draft operating issues numbers 1 to the final number, whatever it is, be approved as amended. We haven't had any amendments yet, so we'll go through it and we'll open it up for discussion. And if any amendments are supported, then they'll be incorporated into that motion. So let's get this on the floor. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Discussion. Councillor Carr, you had an issue earlier and I blew through it too quickly. I believe it was DF 2021-06, which has to do with, I believe, tax rates. Go ahead and Director Hines can provide that information and then we can move on to the other items.
Yeah, no problem. And it wasn't a question as much, it's related to property assessment analysis. And there was one particular statement in here that's quite profound, and I think it needs to be articulated during this meeting. It talks about the municipal laws that relates to property taxation continues to be subject to challenge. And we've seen that over the years with commercial appeals. But there's also some discussion here in Director Hines' report that talks about the fact that some of these larger commercial real estate properties, because they're ineligible for various government relief programs, they're filing claims for tax relief. And so as we continue to see closures in our economy and then businesses close up and seeing reductions in the commercial capacity, they're actually going back and then appealing their property taxes, and which has significant effect. So I'm more or less just making a statement that it's quite concerning to see not only the economic devastation of closures in terms of job losses and things of that nature, but then when the appeals are occurring because of that, anytime we see appeals in the commercial tax rates, as we've heard from staff, they are then spread across other tax tables, and certainly the residential would be one of them. So it's just more of an observation to see how that these economic closures are not only impacting just directly in terms of jobs and pay, but then also then can have the indirect effect of putting more strain, if you will, on the residential taxpayer. So just more of an observation, but it really stuck out as a significant concern going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, certainly that's one of the things that we're not sure how it's going to play out in the future with those appeals. We also don't know how the additional $1 billion in COVID relief that the province announced last week in its budget for municipalities will be distributed. We'll get more details about that on those two issues going forward. Okay, thank you. And I apologize for moving so quickly earlier. So we are now at the draft operating issues, the tax supported ones. It's this in your package, councillors. And if you would like to see this document that's on the screen now bigger, you can go to the view button where you can, on the top right-hand corner of your screen, where you can take away the shots of all of us that are along there. Not all of you are on my screen. So if I cannot see you, I can't see you raising your hand. So if you're not being called on, please put your microphone on and get my attention. But or you can also raise your hand on the bottom of the screen. There's a raise your hand button and a chat function if you want to, and then we can recognize you. So we have the issues, and I think again, what we've done in the past, which has worked well. We'll go around and see if anyone has anything they want to pull. As I said, we had an opportunity to contact staff to answer any questions before. So we'll go around, and I'll start on my screen. Councillor Millette, are there any items on the issues that you want to pull?
Yes. One moment, please. I've got them listed as page numbers for my ease of reference. One moment, please. Page 17.
So it'll have a letter and then a number. So for example, B11.
Yeah.
What do you have? Which ones do you have?
Can you come back to me? I'll have the proper designations.
Next on my screen is Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Next on my screen is Councillor Williams.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Next is Councillor Sanderson.
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. Next is, I'm laughing because it's hard to see with the way everything is. Next, I've got Councillor Alsap.
No, thank you.
Next is Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
Next is Councillor McCaw.
Thank you.
Okay, and before I come back to Councillor Millette, anybody I miss? I think my math is got all 8 of you. Okay, Councillor Millette, did you get?
Sorry, no, Your Worship, I can address mine when we get to the later portion. That's fine. Thank you.
Good. So then the operating issues summary. It starts with B11 and runs to D614. The motion is that they be approved, and it's on the floor. So what we've done is we've dropped the as amended. So it's just that they be approved. The motion's on the floor. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so let me just find out where we go to next. So next on the agenda is item A813, the draft budget detail tax supported. And the resolution is that the 2021 draft budget detail tax supported be approved. Let's get it on the floor. Councillor Sanderson and Councillor Kelly. This is section 4 of your binder. And we'll go around and see any items that wish to be pulled. Okay, Councillor Millette.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
No, thank you.
Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sanderson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsap.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you. And I also want to put in a little punch for Ms. Hines and Brandon Ferguson for helping me for over an hour in their office to understand some of it, and they cleared it up very well. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for saying that, Councillor Thompson. Councillor McCaw. No, thank you. Did I miss anybody? Okay, so then the motion's on the floor. All in favor? It's carried. So then we'll move to 8A14, the 2021 draft base budget adjustments for parking services. And the resolution is that the draft 2021 parking services base budget be approved. And I'll go around the table again. Councillor Councillor Alsap is moving, seconded by Councillor Sanderson. And now I'll ask if there's anything you want to pull out of it. Councillor Millette.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsap. No, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Williams.
No, thank you.
Councillor McCaw.
You.
Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sanderson.
No, thank you.
And Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Okay, so the resolution is on the floor for 8A14. All in favor? It's carried. Now we'll deal with 8A15, the draft budget detail for parking services. The resolution is that the 2021 draft budget detail parking services be approved. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Does anybody have any items they want to pull out of this? I can see you all now, so if you just want to put your hand up. Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. So we're now on 8A16, the 2021 draft budget base budget adjustments for water. And the resolution is that the 2021 draft base budget adjustments water be approved. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Alsap and Councillor Thompson. Does anyone have any items they want to pull from this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. 8A17, the 2021 draft COVID-19 adjustments for water. That the 2021 draft COVID-19 adjustments water be approved. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Sanderson. Anybody have anything they want to discuss on this? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried. 8A18, the draft budget detail water, and that the 2021 draft budget detail water be approved. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Alsap, Councillor Sanderson. Anyone have any items they want to discuss on this? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Am I on 19 now? Okay, thank you. I'm losing count here. 8A19, the 2021 draft base budget adjustments for wastewater. The resolution is that the 2021 draft base budget adjustments wastewater be approved. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. 8A20, the 2021 draft COVID-19 adjustments for wastewater. That the 2021 draft COVID-19 adjustments for wastewater be approved. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8A21, the draft operating issues for wastewater. And the resolution is that the 2021 draft operating issues wastewater be approved. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Millette. Any discussion? Okay, thank you. All in favor? It's carried. And the 8A22 draft budget detail wastewater be approved, the resolution. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Millette. Any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. More of a statement than a question. I sent an email to Mr. Brandon Ferguson last night, wanting to compare the rates for Quinte West, Prince Edward County, and ourselves for water and wastewater. And it really come up because at the Quinte West budget meeting, it was brought up that we were quite high. So I wanted, and I've always spoke about this, so they've sent me a comparison, and our water is higher than the rest, except for Prince Edward County. But when you count in our water and our wastewater, we're actually lower than either Quinte West or Prince Edward County. And I think that's important to note to the people, because I know I get a lot of questions only because maybe I bring it up every year. But when you come down at M3 for an average, we're at 113.91. Quinte West is at 114.62, and Prince Edward County is 190.79. And I think that's good for the public to know that, that we are within reason. Our water's higher, but our wastewater's lower. And when you compare the two of them, we're certainly competitive to them all. And I think that's important. And I want to thank Ms. Carol Hines and Mr. Brandon Ferguson, because we talked about that at our meeting, and I wanted those figures, and I think it's good for the county people to know that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. And you certainly have brought that up every year that I have been on council with you in terms of the issues. And it's correct. And, you know, and the other thing that's also correct is we have the largest water and sanitary system in the region. Yeah. So there's a lot more people that are relying on the Belleville system than in other municipalities. And there's cost to regulation. Yeah. And we know that when you don't invest appropriately, bad things happen. And that's why we're all living in the legacy of Walkerton. Yeah. So, you know, it's
we got great staff, and that's important. And I just thought it was important. And I thank you, Your Worship, for letting me tell the people that we are competitive. So, and we do have a very large city and large system, and it's operated very well. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. Anyone else to discussion on this item? Councillor Sanderson.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the remarks from Councillor Thompson. So part of the confusion when you measure ourselves to Quinte West and the county is that we categorize things differently amongst ourselves. But when you look at the aggregate cost for water and wastewater, as Councillor Thompson has said, we're very competitive. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, I will call the question. All in favor? It's carried. I'm going to ask for a motion to rise and report. Moved by Councillor Alsap, second by Councillor Sanderson. All in favor? It's carried. We have one item under new business, and that was sent out to council late last week regarding a funding deadline that we have to achieve. And so the resolution is that bylaw number 2021-63, a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of a funding agreement between the Corporation of the City of Belleville and the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, application apprenticeship support project be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 30th day of March 2021. Can I get a mover? Thank you. Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Sanderson. Any discussion on this? All in favor? It's carried. Or thank you. It's carried. Appreciate it, councillors. This was the deadline was just brought up to us very late for tomorrow, so we have that. New business. I just wanted to, you know, take this opportunity to review, and if we can pull up the screen, I wasn't didn't give them a heads up while I'm talking about something. If we can just pull up the screen of what the final tax rates are going to be, the tax increases for 2021 will be. I just want to say a thank you to all of everybody. This was a very awkward and uncomfortable meeting, and I appreciate everyone's cooperation to get through this. You know, we are seeing a Belleville urban rate of 1.4%, which is spectacular. And it's even more spectacular when you consider the fact this comes on the heels of a negative tax increase in 2020. When you compare the city of Belleville at a 1.4% tax increase for Belleville urban, as I said, this is the lowest tax increase in the region. This compares to the city of Quinte West, whose tax increase was 1.47%, compares to Prince Edward County, who was at 1.47%. The town of Gananoque at 1.5%. The city of Kingston has a 2.40% increase, and the town of Greater Napanee is at 2.95. And again, what is really important about our tax increase is that we didn't take a 2% or a higher increase last year as some other municipalities had to. So we have done, I'm quite proud of that. I'm really appreciative to our staff who have worked so hard for that, and it's been great. I do want to express just a little bit of frustration with a media report that ran yesterday on in Quinte, where they suggested yesterday that the proposed tax increase was 3%, and then they revised it down to say it was 2.99%. And this is frustrating for me because previous councils and previous mayors used to bring in these budgets that had significant proposed increases, 6%, and then over a couple or 3 days, they would wrangle back and forth and bring it down to 2.5%, and then they would show that they really fought. Since we've established our finance committee, we've wanted to bring in realistic budgets. And I think that story unnecessarily scared residents who thought that we were actually contemplating a 3% tax increase this year, in spite of all the difficulties with COVID, in spite of what we've gone through in 2020. And so that was, quite irresponsible, and it was disappointing. And I certainly hope that there's going to be an apology for unnecessarily alarming residents. Last year we said, when we realized we brought in a slightly negative tax increase, we weren't going to make it up the following year with a 3% increase or higher. The figures that were publicized were pretty clear, and it's disappointing that they were out there. I've asked our media partners to make sure that they don't state what the final tax increase is going to be when we deal with capital budget items, because that's just half of our process. And we've all heard from people who keep hearing these numbers that are always changing, because the media is only reporting parts of it. So I did reach out and express my frustration to that outlet today. But I want to laud our community, our employees, our staff, and council for this very reasonable tax increase at 1.40%. So thank you to everybody involved. Councillor Carr.
Thank you. And just looking at the screen here, I was wondering if staff could just send council an electronic version of this and perhaps update the assessed value. I see that this is just a sample, but $250,000 based on our current averages, so that would be good. And then I know once we've set the tax rates, and they'll come in the meeting here soon in April. One thing that I do point to, a great feature on the website is the tax calculator, because as residents see their tax bill and that bulk figure, if you will, they often say, well, where does our tax dollars go? And the tax calculator is a fantastic tool. It really breaks it right down to the penny in terms of where everything is allotted, so you can actually see your tax bill at work, if you will. So we'll look forward to seeing that updated as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Carr, I was just checking with Director Hines. So the $250,000 figure is actually the average MPAC assessment for our area, and that is not scheduled to be adjusted now until 2023. And so that's the figure that we use, as it is the actual average that the assessed value for our city is. And but we can certainly get it out to you that way. And we will talk to, I think it's Manager Howard who handles the tax side, so that calculator is as accurate as possible. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. And just to add on to your comments, I think it's important to remind the public that last year we saw a negative tax increase, one of the only municipalities in Ontario that had that. So when you combine the 2 years, we're well just around 0.7% per year over 2 years. So I think that's the biggest feather in the cap to give to staff and to council. I think that's impressive during COVID to have that. So I think homeowners are, I know, appreciative of that, and we are big stewards of their dollars at the end of the day, considering all the work that's still being done considering the transit we have and other services that this city provides. So great job to staff on that, and I'm happy with that number going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Alsap.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to once again thank the staff and the Finance Department and Director Hines and Brandon Ferguson and all the great work that they've done. As has been pointed out, this is a very small increase, and the fact that there was a negative increase last year means that we're averaging something like 0.59 over the 2 years, which is tremendous. I want to thank the staff for the diligent hard work that they've done to deliver such a polished and conservative budget to us, which is what's certainly needed in a rebuilding year like this. And I'm very proud to have been able to be part of approving this budget today.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Alsap. Anyone else? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, I just want to add congratulations to the staff as being part of the Finance Committee. In our meeting that we had earlier in March, I can tell you that the department brought this budget. We made little or no changes to this budget from the Finance Committee. So that's hats off to the staff for bringing in a budget that we didn't, as you said, Mayor, that we were sending back before getting readjusted. This staff come in, and that's the second year in a row. The Finance Committee has had very little work to do when it come brought to us, review it. And so I got to congratulate the staff for tremendous job over the last couple of years, bringing it. And here it is today. We approved it with pretty good ease.
Okay. Last call for anyone that wants to say anything. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We'll move now to item number 14, the confirmatory bylaw. That bylaw number 2021-61, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on March the 30th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 30th day of March 2021. Moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Alsap. All in favor, it's carried. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Carr and Councillor Thompson. All in favor, it's carried. Thank